talk about your history and who you guys are. But one of the questions I have in mind is, and it's not on here, so just start thinking about it. How many offers in general, are you seeing either on the listing side, on your own listings, or when you're on the buy side? When you're making offers on behalf of your buyers, how many offers are you being told by the listing agent are being made on that particular property on average? Nothing to answer right now, but I just to give this some color behind the scenes when we get started. So. By the way, how's the weather in Austin and Houston with the snow? Were you guys pretty crushed too?
Yeah, we got crushed. My landscaping is history, but it's back to 70s and 80s. I mean, it was 7 degrees on one week and 80 the next. I mean, go figure, that's Texas.
I went for a run in a t-shirt this morning. I think it's the first time I've done it since like October. How about you guys?
I ended up with multiple properties with water damage. One of the neighbors called and said, "Are you the realtor on this property?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "You've got water coming out the front door." So, I mean, we were. It was a little rough, but we're Texans and we're strong and we adjust. And now it's gorgeous. It's been a good weekend. I don't think we have rain coming until this weekend, so it's been nice. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, it's interesting, Dorrie. I'm in the same boat. I'm not sure if my landscaping is gonna make it or not. I keep hearing different things. If the leaves are dead and they fall off, your tree's alive. If the leaves are dead and they stay on the tree, then your tree's dead. Something like that. I don't know. I don't know. I guess we'll find out soon enough. And it's not covered by insurance, right?
No.
Yeah.
Nope, not income. The one thing that we did notice, I've had a lot of even colleagues, if they lost their power, then their freeze protect went off on their pool and they've had some real damage. I was lucky. I just put in a new pool pump last fall and I never lost my power and it ran 24/7. It just kept going and going. And one of my colleagues, they just put a pool in a couple of years ago, gorgeous pool, and it froze.
Yeah.
It totally ruined everything. Their pipes, everything.
Was the pool itself okay?
No.
Really?
No, their pool is not okay because we need to keep our water in our pool for the plaster, but when it freezes, it cracks. And so you're going to have to resurface.
Yeah, we had rolling outages where I was. And so what I did was I saw, because my neighbor did it. Every time the power came back on, he put his pool heater on. And that way we had a prolonged, thing. I lost my waterfall feature, which I got to get fixed. But other than that, the main pool and the hot tub were okay.
Good.
So,
Good. Glad to hear that.
All right, Amisha, are we ready? 10:04. I know we've been recording, but
yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's do it. All right, hello, CB Texas. You girls ready, by the way?
You bet.
We're ready.
Cool. Hello, CB Texas. My name's Alex Vidal. I'm the regional vice president for here in DFW, but this is an all Texas, Houston, Austin, and DFW coaching series. And today we're going to be talking about what is probably the hottest topic across the board, multiple offers. Now, what I love about this particular panel, and I got to give credit to Amisha for coming up with the questions, is we think about multiple offers and we think about what it's like to be on the buy side of multiple offers. And we think it's just a breeze to be on the listing side and get 20 offers, but it's not. So today's class is going to be not only talking about being on the buy side of the multiple offer situation, but being on the list side. Because as great as that sounds, it's not always as easy as it looks. And so stay tuned. We got an action-packed class. Before we get started, real quick, 30-second interview, and I'm just going to go based on the order on which you guys are on my screen. If you can tell us who you are, Terri, we'll start with you.
Hi, I'm Terri George. I'm out of the Houston market. I am technically out of the Clear Lake Market Center. I live in Baytown. I've been in the real estate business since 2006. And I joined Coldwell Banker in 2016 and love it. It's not going anywhere. I have an awesome husband and 2 super cool fur babies. And yeah, I just love Coldwell Banker, love the culture, and I'm honored to be a part of this panel today.
Awesome. Thank you, Terri. Dorrie.
Hi, I'm Dorrie Dillard, and I'm from Austin, Texas. I'm in the Northwest Arboretum office, which I've been there since 1995. I've been in business for 29 years. Love Coldwell Banker and all their tools and everything that they have. I service the Northwest Austin area. I live in Canyon Creek. I have my family here, which is awesome because my daughter has now joined Coldwell Banker and she's in our office. And I have a son who is also in real estate in Austin, Texas, and a son-in-law who's in mortgage. So we're all in the real estate industry.
Nice. And Chenoa, how about you?
Hey, Alex. Hi, everyone. This is Chenoa Barhydt. I am in the Dallas market. I office out of the Lakewood office over in East Dallas. And my farm area is mainly in Richardson, North Dallas, East Dallas, and Midway Hollow areas. I've been an agent for about 5 years or so. My background's in advertising and marketing prior to this career. And I have a golden retriever who is getting a white face. He's 10. And I have a son who is a freshman in college.
That's right. In Notre Dame, not just college, Notre Dame. The big one. I'm a Gator. If I were to show you the bed behind me, I'm in my son's room. Check this out. It's all Florida. It's all Florida Gators. All right, so let's get started real quick. I kind of preface this. Dorrie, on average, how many offers are you seeing, whether you're on the buy side or the list side?
Well, it's changed a little bit. We were seeing a lot higher. I think now agents are trying to get not such a long period of time to gather as many as they can get and maybe get more quality ones. But I'm saying on an average 20 to 25.
Wow. Okay. How about you, Terri?
So for us, it depends on the price point and suburbs, inner loop. I've seen handfuls where you're talking just 5. And last week I heard of an agent with 80. So it's definitely a broad spectrum over here.
Just listen to but put a little context into what you just said. Just 5. I mean,
just 5.
That's where we are in our market.
Just a handful.
We just got 5 offers. I mean,
Just 5. Yeah.
How about you, Chenoa? What are we seeing here in DFW?
Similar to Terry's, based on price point for sure. And, I think there's a lot of investors that aren't able to get any homes at all. So they're kind of going up in the price point. So anything in the 300 range with a good school system, there's going to be 20, 30 offers. And I think I've had a couple and more high priced properties here in Heights Park. And I had about 10 to 15 over. But I've heard about 30 to 40 over on $300,000 investment homes. And, agents are just stopping. They're just like stopping it. They're like, we're just done, shutting off everything.
Shut off the faucet. It's interesting. What are you guys seeing? Obviously, they're all above asking for the most part. Is there a percent that you're seeing above asking? So if it's a $500,000, I've heard $500,000 properties getting cash offers for $550,000, $600,000. Are we seeing in excess of 10% above asking on the listings? I'll throw that out there. Dorrie, Chenoa, Terri.
Well, for me,
I'm sorry, what was that question?
No, that's all right. So the question is, how much above asking percentage-wise are you guys seeing?
Okay, that's a really good question because it does vary from neighborhood to neighborhood. But I know in the neighborhood that I work in, I noticed like last August, the property values, the list to sell ratio was like 4.6. Then in October, November, it went to 8.4. Then in November, December, it went to 9.7. Now, when I looked at February's, it actually was 63% above. And that's crazy.
Wait, hold on. So theoretically,
63% higher price than what it was last year at this time.
Oh, okay.
Now,
but above asking. So, okay, got it. So I understood. But
yeah.
If you see a property for $500,000, let's use that as a metric, Terri and Chenoa
Right.
as well. What do you would assume average you guys are seeing it sell for? Is it selling for $550,000?
A lot of it depends, I think, on timing and what people are really looking for, because I put 2 houses on just before the storm hit. And one had 29 showings. And here we have this huge major storm coming in. Yeah. The next day we had 18. I had 18 offers on the property. It went 34% over the list price. Now that same week I put one on and I had 4 offers in 6 hours, but one of them was 27% over. And it was closing in 6 days cash. And my seller said, Dorrie, we're taking that. He said, the storm's coming. Why would I not take that offer? He said, cut it off.
Wow. Okay.
And so we took it. But it was timing.
How about you, Terri?
It was timing.
Yeah, no, I get it. How about you, Terry? What do you
No,
see?
I agree with Dorrie. It really depends on the area, the location, the school district, and the timing of everything. So I had listed one a few weeks before the winter storm, and multiple cash offers all over asking, which typically, back in the day, we would see cash offers be lower than the list price because they were like, cash is king, right? And now we're seeing all these cash offers come in over listing as well. But then I've seen them, not go too much over. It really just depends on the area of Houston, the timing, school districts. There's so many variables. And then you could put one on the market and it might sit. It just depends.
How about Chenoa? What are we seeing in DFW typically on your listings?
It's pretty similar. And the one thing I want to say about the cash offers, as Terry mentioned, typically they're about 10 to 15,000 under because it's cash is king and they close quickly. But the past two, out of the past 5 houses I've just closed on, 2 of them were cash. And it was interesting because I was, had a conversation with the sellers, because there was a cash that was $20,000 over the offer price, the list price, excuse me. And we had a conventional loan that was maybe almost double that. And they took the cash price. Even though the cash was a little bit lower, it was still over offer price, And I think one of the things that we can do in this market, just to kind of give you some value add, is really negotiate hard with people who are doing cash, and telling them you want $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 for earnest money. Do everything you can to lock that down, because I always advise my sellers, I'm like, one bad day on the market, a client pulling $5,000 walking away from $5,000 or $10,000 in earnest money, that's nothing when he can hold on to the rest of the $450,000 he has cash that's going to be put into the house, in 2 weeks. So I don't necessarily love cash offers for that reason, but I think now it's kind of interesting because we're able to really push some levers on things that we really need to make sure that we get that house closed.
Okay. So let's use this. This is a perfect segue going into, we're going to actually start on the seller side, then the buy side for a minute. Talk to me about, and the question posed was, what are you doing? What are your sellers doing differently to prepare for multiple offers? And I want to kind of rephrase that a little bit and say, what are you doing to prepare your sellers for multiple offers? Are you even having that discussion with them? Because if you do, are you setting, an expectation that you don't know if you can necessarily fulfill? Terry, we'll start with you. What are you doing in advance of going live with a seller? Are you doing anything to prepare the seller?
Absolutely. Yeah. So especially if I feel like it's going to go into multiple offers, the biggest thing that I do is set that expectation with the seller, because not only are we talking about offers, but we're also talking about the fact that they're going to have possibly hundreds of people through their home. And if they're occupying the home, that's a lot on a seller, especially, when you have people that are still very concerned over COVID. That's a lot of traffic. So having that discussion of, if we have multiple showings, how do you want that handled? Do you want it, in 10-minute increments where they have a line outside and you have appointments to come in, you can't be in the house longer than 10 minutes? Do you want, a weekend full of showings and you just kind of leave for the weekend? And then once we get past that, it's, hey, you can't just go out of town, or you can't just be unavailable. We need to have a date that we're going to have a cutoff, and I need you to be available and understand that it's going to take me quite a bit of time sometimes, which I know will be another question here in a little bit, of preparing these offers for the client to review, not just an overnight. So when they start calling and they say, how many offers do I have? What kind of offers? What do you have any good offers yet? Setting up that expectation for them of, this is the order in which it will work, and this is when we will go over it. Set some time aside for me so that we can make a decision and then go from there, versus just, all of a sudden they freak out because they have all of these people in their homes and they're in meetings and they can't discuss their offers.
So what do you do, Dorrie? Are you along the same lines with that? What do you do to prepare a seller in advance? And I want to piggyback. What if, additional question after everyone's going, but I want to get it out before I forget, is what if you're not knowing if you're going to get multiple showings? Like, what do you do? What if it's like one of those properties? So Dorrie, what do you do to prepare the seller, and what do you do in the event? And Terry, we can come back to you on this as well. What do you do when you're not sure what's going to happen?
I always set up a marketing consultation with them. We talk about what to expect from getting your house ready. Maybe it's best if they are having problems with the COVID to move out for a couple days, go to a hotel, go stay with relatives or whatnot. But I like to go over what the process is and tell them, hey, this is a team effort. You know, you have choices as a seller on how we're going to handle multiple offers. And so I even bring along an appraisal waiver. You're going to see this. This is going to come with every offer practically that comes in, unless it's cash. And I tell them what it is and why we want to be familiar with it. I tell them, okay, in some cases, the buyers may even ask that they pay for the title policy and not you. They may not ask you for a home warranty. They may not ask you for anything. They may give you a high option fee and explain what is the option period, because many of these people, they haven't bought a house or sold a house in like 7 to 10 years. And so they don't even know what an option period is. Why do they need a fee? How long would that be? And so I go over exactly what's going to happen. I also tell them, I have a really good program. Independence Title has a program called Agent One. I can insert everything into this program. Who's paying for the title policy? What's their loan amount? Who's paying for the warranty? Who's doing everything? And it will spit out exactly their net sheet. Well, if you have 20 or 25 offers, you need something that is going to show, okay, here's your net. And so I tell them, all right, I'm going to email this to you. Once I get all the offers in it, I'm just going to email it. Or if I have some clients right now, they want me to come over. They're a little older and they really don't want to deal with a computer. So that's fine. I would just take it over to them and we can go over it. But I think preparing them so that they know what to expect. Now, not every house is going to have that. And you can say, I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I can bet that we probably will have at least one offer or several. And it just depends on the neighborhood you're working in.
I love going over that with a seller prior to even getting an offer, what all the major aspects of a deal, deposits, option periods, who's paying title insurance, et cetera. I love that, because what you're doing is you don't have to explain that later when they're already feeling overwhelmed with 20 offers on their property. Absolutely love that. Chenoa, what are you doing in advance to get a seller ready, mentally ready?
Sure. Yeah, and I think that the thing in the Dallas market is to be really specific about what is our cutoff date. Should we have multiple offers? We got to stick to that. And I think the biggest thing is just being quick to the market, right? So be quick on when we're getting back to people, because my phone won't stop ringing if we don't get someone under contract, right? So I think that's just the biggest thing, and letting them know why that's so important versus, waiting a couple of days for them to kind of sit around and think about the offers. Similar to Dorrie, and I'm really curious about that program. I made an Excel file that does a net for all of the offers, and it has a net at the very bottom. And really what that does is I talk to them about it beforehand so that they understand like a number. It's about the deal. It's not about the price. It's about the entire package and like what the lease amount really equates to from a dollar perspective. If they were to lease something else while they're getting into their next home, or what the buyer paying the title policy, what that looks like, or them not asking for a home warranty. It all comes down to the bottom line. They're pretty surprised when they see the net sheet Excel file that I have for them versus just seeing the offers, because they usually ask to see them so they can see the letters, and the letters do make a difference with my sellers for sure.
Dorrie, you said the program was called Agent One with Independence Title, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. It's an app.
Independence Title is what we have right next to in our office, right down the hall.
Yep.
In Lakewood. So oh man, this is why I got to write my questions down. Chenoa, you said something that triggered a thought. I'll come back to it. Let me ask you this: the marketing of a property. So you're going to get multiple offers on a property. We have listing concierge, which I absolutely love, and we're going to have a separate coaching session or one of these sessions later on how to really leverage listing concierge to market to our sphere of influence, not necessarily around the listing itself, but we're going to get to that. So you know you're getting multiple offers. Are you doing anything different, or are you not doing certain things because you know you're going to be getting multiple offers? Terry, go first.
It depends on the property and the location of the property. So if I'm working a rural area that is not in a tight neighborhood or a master plan, what I'll do, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I kind of skip the LC order on there if I think it's gonna go quick. If it's in a subdivision, a true subdivision, I will still do a listing concierge order most of the time because we can tweak those. So it's great to be able to say, hey, I just listed it. Oh wait, I just listed it, but I also just sold it. It just went under contract. And I feel like for the price of listing concierge, and I know I sound like I'm, I guess making it a big deal, but it is a big deal. I think it's important to still utilize that because of everything that involves. So yes, to answer your question, I still try to put it on most of my listings and use the everything that comes with it and just adjust what I'm saying in there, editing those fields so that it promotes the listing.
Cool. Chenoa, how about you? You know you're getting, and I remembered what my question is, so I'll come back to it in a minute. Chenoa, how about you? You know you're getting multiple offers. It's that $300,000 property in a great school district. You know you're probably going to have 80 showings in a weekend, and here we are. Are you doing anything different, or are you not doing any certain things because you know you're getting the multiple offers?
Yeah, I mean, I think like in some instances, I just won't use listing concierge, but what I will do is I'll do Facebook ads, paid Facebook ads to the neighborhood. And because really what I want people to see is the activity, right? I think for me, it's certainly listing it and it's certainly showing proof of production to people who I could potentially work with to list their house. But, I think there's this idea that, anyone can sell a house, right? But it's more of a matter of like how many offers were there, and really just telling the story behind what that situation was. And I think people are interested and they have time now to kind of hear more about the story of like what happened with the house. How does that work? How does it work when you get multiple offers? How do you choose the one and all of that stuff? So people are pretty curious. I get phone calls all the time from my ads. So it's, that works out great.
Okay. And Dorrie, how about you?
I still use the listing concierge on every listing, even when I know it's going to go over and will be under contract. Mainly because you can adjust now with listing concierge. Like instead of sending out a just listed, you can put under contract, especially if you know it's going out. So that goes out. Then your sold cards go down. And in my particular geo area, they love it. They cannot believe the professional marketing pieces that go out. They're in awe of it. And I get comments on it all the time, even from other agents and other companies. They said, where did you get that marketing piece? It's awesome. So I do it on all of them because it just further promotes you. It just keeps that professional image out there.
Got it. And what I love about it, and I guess really the answer is, even if it's going to sell quickly, continue doing it anyways, because it still has to go active, regardless of what it's happening. It could sell in an hour. It still needs to go active, right? It still needs to go under contract. It still needs to close. And if it happens to be that your sphere of influence or the listings around the property got it just listed today, tomorrow got it under contract, and 2 weeks later got it just closed, from an advertising perspective, showing them that you're a performer, it behooves you to continue doing it, even if it was going to sell in an hour. Not necessarily listing concierge, but in general, just your normal marketing. Here is my question that I forgot. So you got 20, 30 offers. Let's say you go live on Friday. You set up all your showings for Saturday, Sunday. You want all offers by Monday morning. I'm just thinking of my days, right? Monday morning, you want all offers. Are you telling them, give me your highest and best right now off the bat? Or are you gathering all the offers first and then going back and saying, all right, guys, we've had 20 offers. You have until Tuesday, 5 p.m. to submit your highest and best, or leave your current offer alone? How are you guys handling that? Are you going back, or is it one shot deal? Chenoa, how about you?
Yeah. So basically, when I know there's tons of showings and it's going to have multiple offers on a property, once I get two offers in my inbox, I'll send out the highest and best at that point. I think I do try to give people at least a couple of days to be able to see the house. We want to have the best options possible. But once I have two, I think it's fair, because I don't want to wait until I have 20, and because the thing is that just wastes my time because people keep calling me, asking me where they're at with the process. So I think the quickest thing for me as a listing agent is to do it at 2 and put deadlines everywhere and communicate everything on MLS, via MLS, and let everyone know that. I don't ever try to have one-off conversations with buyers agents who call because it's the same thing, and they're trying to do what I do, and I'm doing the buyer agent. I'm trying to get my brand awareness high with them, for them to know me, know my clients, and all of that stuff, which is fine. I do answer the phone for them, but I try to put everything I can on MLS, so that way I just can focus on other things.
Yeah, Dorrie, how about you? How are you? Are you going back? Or are you just saying, hey, we're going to be a multiple offer, so?
Well, I think we've all learned in Austin, you better put your best foot forward to begin with. But I do put in the MLS when it first goes in that what the showing instructions are, and that there will be updates concerning any multiple offers. And I've been getting the agents now to always look in the MLS, because if I find that the MLS, say it's 2 days later and we have 20 offers and my seller and I have decided, okay, we're going to cut this off on Sunday at 5, I put that in there and I put final and best. Now, something we've been discussing a lot, and I've been talking with my sellers, and from now on, I am going to be doing this on my listings as long as my seller agrees, because the values have been going over so much. If we get, say we have 10 offers in, and say just for the sake of it, the house is 600, and it looks like most of the offers coming in are 680 or 690, that we will go in, I will go into the MLS and put the new listing price at 675. That way, if there's buyers who there's no way they can make up that difference from their loan amount with an appraisal waiver, and say their cap is at 650, they're done. They don't have to write an offer on it. I think our agents are getting frustrated. The buyers are getting frustrated. I think it's real important for a buyer's agent to have a really positive attitude and be that cheerleader, keep throwing it at the wall, something's going to stick, and it will work. But I think just to lessen some of that, I mean, if you know you're going to have all these offers more at 700 than 600, why not place that new price and before the deadline, and then put in the MLS that final and best by whatever time it is.
I just got a new question too that just came up. I'm having so much fun. This is awesome. Terri, how about you? What are you doing? Are you one-shot deal, best foot forward, or are you giving people a second chance to come back?
So we have to remember this is up to the sellers too, because a lot of agents just go and they say, oh, we're doing highest and best. A lot of listing agents forget that this is up to the seller, and a discussion that you have to have with the seller ahead of time. Dorrie, I loved your idea by adjusting the price. Once you start getting a lot, I think I'm going to start using that and stealing that from you. But I'm like Chenoa, once I get 2 offers, we have the discussion ahead of time. Once we're at 2, it's highest and best. I have a cutoff time. I don't want 80, 100 offers to go through. Dorrie, like I said, I'm gonna steal that. I'm adjusting the price if it goes high, and then we'll go from there.
So that triggered a great question. So there's and I see it in my own community. The realtor that represented me in my relo here, she keeps us on our email drip, right? And I already know the routine. I get the email coming soon. The next day I get the email active. The next day I get the email active option. Like it's literally boom, 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 3 days in a row. And there are a couple properties, because I've come to know my market pretty well, my city pretty well. Like that listing could be listed for more. So my question to you is, are you going in, let's say it's $1 million property. Are you intentionally going like at 975 to then drive the multiple offer? Because you know that property is going to sell for 1.1 or above. Or if you know it's going to sell for 1.1 or above, are you going high and setting that bar? So the question is, list low or list lower, get a lot of offers, or just go high from the get-go? Chenoa, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, no, and again, it comes back to what the seller's comfortable with for sure. But honestly, I feel like going in at a fair median price that from an appraisal perspective, and I know that anyone who's going to look at that is going to be fine with it, right? So the worst thing that could happen is that I put an offer price, a list price out there, and everyone comes in, and then we have the appraisal waiver, and then my appraisal comes back low, and then we have a different conversation. We have somebody who have that waiver sort of scenario, and this is probably more in the $500,000 to $700,000 range, and I think maybe $1 million. I don't know. I don't normally do those typically, but in my range specifically, I really try to be as clean and clear as possible on exactly what I'm doing based on appraisal, and then let the chips fall where they may, where people are doing over based on their waiver. You're not being
egregious with the price. Got it. On either which way. How about you, Terri? You going low, high, or you staying?
I'm the same. I like to find that sweet spot. You overprice it, you're going to lose your multiple offers because people automatically look at you and go, well, you're insane for pricing it that. We see that. And you price it too low, and you're just creating more work for you and your seller.
Interesting. All right, Dorrie, how about you?
I always like to list at market value. I do look at, say, I think a house is going to be somewhere, say it's 590. I might go to 600 because people tend to search in 50,000 increments. Mm-hmm. And so rather than lose everybody from 6 to 650, I may go ahead and list it at 6, because then I'll still get those that are looking from 550 to 6 and 6 to 650. So I always call that the law of the nines. I would never list a house at 499.9 or 599.9. You just lost a whole group of potential buyers. And so I do look at that when I'm listing a property.
That's right, because nobody in the search function puts 499.9999. They put 500, right?
Exactly.
But then at the flip side, if they're looking in a price range and their low side is 500, they're not putting 49999. I love that. All right. So let's end a couple more questions on the list side, and then we're going to go to the buy side, because we are trying to keep it within an hour. But this is probably one of the most fun ones I've had. So as a listing agent, what are some of the biggest challenges you have in handling multiple offers? Chenoa?
Oh gosh, I think it's just the time it takes, and I'll look at the independent title little app situation, but the time it takes to actually go through all of the offers and put them into my Excel file, just to really make sure that the numbers work, so that I can communicate this to the seller. I think when I was a buyer's agent, I would get frustrated when I was putting in offers 5 years ago for buyers, when it was like a market similar to this. And the listing agent was like, well, there were too many offers. What do you even present yours? And so I did all this work. There was a love letter, all that kind of stuff. So I do try to send all offers to my clients, but putting that little Excel file together, making sure that we're being very specific about who it is. And I think the other thing we haven't really talked about was backup contracts. And so what I do when I talk to my sellers and get prepared for multiple offers is to also say, okay, we're going to go to order operations on who do you want to be the backup, right? So we're going to go and ask each one, and then if someone says no, we'll go to the next one. So we usually have about 3 lined up for the backup offer. And I think the other thing I do, and I know I'm going off topic a little bit, is that I make a phone call and get a hold of the lender, no matter what, because I think I'm pretty good at asking questions. So then it's just a matter of really trying to understand, is this buyer playing us? Do they have offers all around DFW right now at different homes? And are they going to back out of this one, right? So I get a lot of answers from the lender, just to give me a perspective on who these buyers truly are. And I do that even for people who are doing potentially backup contracts, or we have in queue for that.
Got it. So the biggest challenge for you would be even just gathering all that information in a way that the seller could view it in a pretty easy format, and then following up on the ones that you're considering taking, because you want to make sure that if you take it, you're not pushing away all the other people. Terri, how about you? What are you doing? What's your biggest challenge?
My biggest challenge is my phone ringing nonstop from other agents who don't know how to read the MLS agent remarks when you're leaving instructions, or you're leaving preferences and things like that. And then they call you and they're wanting to ask all these questions, and you keep saying refer back to the MLS. It's mainly the other agents, and of course you do have the time constraints too. Like Chenoa, I do the same thing where I've got an Excel spreadsheet. And I take I basically kind of correlate, number it, and I put all of the terms in the contract in there. So anything that is a negative to the seller, I redline it. Everything that's a positive, I add like a green to it, and we go through them, because while the apps are great, and I use those as well, I think it's great for a bottom dollar amount. You also have to look at if one closes before the other, if option periods, all of those little things that we want the seller, that's weight. It might not be monetary, but it's still weight to the contract. So kind of going through all those, and I put that together first. Then I start sending the offers over, since we have to present all offers. And the reason I do that, and this is a little off topic too, but one of the reasons I do that is because I want sellers, my fiduciary responsibilities to my client. I don't want them picking an offer because they have a newborn baby and 3 dogs also. I want them picking an offer based on the numbers and the facts. Then I can show them all the contracts along with it too. So it's just time consuming.
Got it. Thank you, Terri. Dorrie, and we're gonna. I'm seeing comments pop up, and everybody's itching. They're like, "Great, let's get to the buyer meat and potatoes of it." So we're gonna do that right now, Dorrie, and we're gonna skip the biggest concern your sellers have about multiple offers. If we have time, we'll come back to it. So Dorrie, real quick, 30 seconds. They're itching for the buyer side. What are your biggest challenges in handling multiple offers as a listing agent?
I think the biggest thing that you've got to start with your buyer is education. Knowledge is power. You've got to go through everything with them before they even start.
That's for the buyers, but for you as a listing agent on multiple offers, what's your biggest challenge?
Oh, no question. My phone blowing up, and trying to be, because I really do, I want to be gracious to the other agents. I know I've been in the buyer agent position. I really feel that if you've talked to your seller about how it's going to be handled, then it's easy to give them a call and say, okay, so now we've got these amount of offers. How do you want to proceed? I would suggest this, but you tell me. And then we have that game plan. We're following that game plan. And I think that is huge, because just like I said before, going into the MLS, that will cut some of them by changing the price. The buyer agents are always asking you, how many offers do you have, blah, 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 blah. I think something that's good for us to turn around and ask them is, how many open offers on other properties do you and your buyer have? Because they're starting to make offers on many properties. So I want that information to tell my sellers, because in Agent One, I can put everything. I can put closing date, I can put option fee, I can put everything. So all the numbers are there. But the other thing that goes into that equation is, I think that's a fair question. They're asking you all these questions. I think it's fair to turn around and ask them that question.
Love it. I just, for purposes of to back up to give validity to the question, because I was an out-of-state buyer going through multiple offers. I had 2 offers out, and they happened to have both gotten accepted. I had to jump on a plane. I had to jump on a plane that night, or the next day, the next morning, come and look at both of them again, because one I'd seen, the other one I hadn't. I did sight unseen because it just came on the market, and I had to pick which one. And so, and obviously the one that I canceled had to go option, active option, and then they had to go back live on the market because I canceled it. So yeah, I love that, Dorrie. Okay, let's get to the buy side. I'm gonna have to watch this one again. There are so many nuggets of information on this. It's awesome. And what's great about this is, for those of you that are on the buy side, the reason we wanted to start with the sellers was so that you can understand what's happening on the other side of the equation. So now when you're working with a buyer, you can educate them about how listing agents are handling multiple offer situations. It's key to this question, which is, what are you telling your buyers in preparation? Here you are, you're with a buyer, you're like, oh my God, I'd rather get my wisdom teeth pulled than work with a buyer, but you got them. What are you telling them in prep? And are you leveraging on your experience as a listing agent to kind of share what's happening on that side? So here I am, I'm your buyer, I'm from Florida, I'm moving to Texas. Chenoa, what are you telling me?
Yes, well, this is a little secret. I don't know if everyone does this or if it just happens to me, but I have this deal, and I've seen it so many times with like just human psychology. When you're first to see a home and you're first to put an offer in, I don't know what it is, but sellers are always like, well, they were first, you got to be fair. And then they always want to come back to that particular buyer to say, hey, we have many offers, many that are over the amount that you're offering. But since you were first, let's talk. So I don't know what it is, but I would say 7, 8 times out of 10. What I do with that is that I basically let people know that, hey, once homes come on the market, let's plan to go. So just, you have your lunch times on Wednesday, Thursdays, and Fridays available. So we'll hit it as soon as that comes on. I'll, start making my phone calls. And so that's really what I do in terms of preparing them on how quickly we needed to look at the market, but also understanding, really more about inspections if they haven't done an inspection before, what that looks like, because what I try to do also is give them some options on inspectors, but also get that set up. So when I do the offer for them, I include the fact that the reason we're doing 3-day option period is that we have the inspector lined up to go should they accept the offer within 24 hours, right? So I do every single thing I can to push on the levers of the sellers feeling like this is a slam dunk deal. We can't not do it. Do I get them all the time? No, but for whatever reason, being first is my little tip today. It happens all.
I love it. So get in first, and maybe you appeal to the psychology. Terri, how about you? Okay, here I am. We've just met. We're sitting down. Are you doing buyer consultations? And if you are, what are you doing to mentally prepare me for this war that I'm about to get into of the role?
Well, first letting you know that there is a war, right? There's a bidding war on most properties, and setting that expectation that you may not get this, and this is what you're competing against. That's number one. Number two is going to be to make sure that you understand the contract and you understand what you're offering ahead of time. We're not putting the contract together last minute and I call you to explain it and all of a sudden explain what an option period is. That conversation needs to happen ahead of time. And then we need to have a conversation of, what are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to sacrifice, not inspections per se, because I think buyers always need to get inspections, period, but the option period itself, that protection, home warranties, all of the other things than just the dollar amount to make your offer stronger. I work with a lot of VA buyers, and it's a nightmare because we have to tighten up so many things competing against conventional FHA, even FHA, and obviously cash offers, and letting them know ahead of time what they are competing against so that they don't get their hopes up and all emotional, and that way we can keep them going on to the next house when the first house doesn't work out.
Okay.
Education.
No, I love it. It sounds like on both sides. Dorrie, you had mentioned, I'm curious to hear what you do with buyers, but Dorrie, you did talk about educating the seller in advance of the key terms of the contract. Terri, you're doing it on the buy side. So if you have the rapid fire contracts, you're not having to explain on the fly what an option contract is or what an option period is, all that. Dorrie, how about you? What are you doing? I just flew in, we landed, I'm in your office. What are we doing?
Well, we're going to have a consultation on the market. There's no question. I'm going to give you a copy of actually a contract. I'm going to show you what the lender appraisal waiver looks like. You are going to sign a buyer agency agreement with me. If I'm going to devote all my time to you, I want the loyalty back. But the education on the market is what is really, really important. The first thing they have to do, though, is get pre-approved, not pre-qualified, pre-approved. Because anymore now, any of the offers that I'm getting in, they have got a pre-approval letter, and that's a question my sellers always have. Are they pre-qualified or pre-approved? Have they gone through?
Your sellers know the difference, or do you educate them on the difference?
If they don't go and talk to that lender, they can't ask the lender, okay, if I use this appraisal addendum, how much more can I go over? They need to know that with their lender needs to talk to them about that. And if they don't have that information, then when we go to write an offer, they're doing it blind. So they really need to talk with their lender about how much more they can go over, how much can they come up with, and what are they willing to do.
What percent of your, because we're on the buy side, but I'm interested on the buy and the list side. what percent of your buyers and sellers know the difference between a pre-qual and a pre-approval? Chenoa, what would you say? Do you have to explain it, or is it common knowledge at this point?
No, I usually explain it to them because I explain it to the sellers and I explain it to the buyers. I tell them, you don't want just a pre-qual. All that says is you talk to somebody.
Okay.
And that they ran the number and said, oh yeah, it looks like you could do this. Pre-approval means you've actually filled out a loan application. They've checked your credit, they've checked your information, and that is a pre-qual. And that's what I tell my sellers we're going to be looking for in the offers, that if there's 2 or 3 that are close, the pre-approval is going to get it before the pre-qual is. So I tell my buyers, in order to be first, the object is to win the bid. And you need to have everything in your little toolbox to be able to send over to that listing agent that's going to make a difference. And they're going to look at your offer and say, I'm going with this one.
Yeah. Terri, are you having to educate your consumer, both the buyer and the seller, the difference between a pre-qual and a pre-approval?
Yeah, I mean, if they send it to me, I can already have that conversation. If when I ask them though, do you have a pre-approval, and they'll say, yeah, I think so. And I typically will ask, have they looked at your income? Have you sent them your bank statements, your tax returns, all that stuff? And then that kind of prompts that question. So it's not that they are doing it on purpose. I think that they just don't know the terminology of what they need.
Okay. Chenoa, how about you?
Yeah, I am for the most part. And I think the biggest thing is really about, there's some buyers and their buyers agents who will get their buyers completely underwritten to the point where, like, okay, once we go under contract, all we got to do is get the appraisal out there. So I think that's great. And the other thing, back to my multiple offer sort of spreadsheet, I have a little checkbox in there that says, have I spoken to the lender? Right. So I love it when lenders proactively reach out to me via text, just talk to me about, even right after the offer's been sent, because what it does is that when I'm compiling everything, I can check that box and or call that lender back, because if I don't ever get a hold of them, if they don't call me, or I can't get a hold of them before that Excel file submitted to my seller, there's nothing I could do about that. Right. It could be a really great offer. I just haven't talked to the lender yet, which will hold some credence with various sellers, maybe not all of them, but in some of the ones I have, they do.
Chenoa, that is genius. So have your lender, if you're on the buy side with an agent, with a buyer who's getting financing, have the lender text the listing agent on your offer, letting them know how qualified the buyer is. So they're not only now hearing it from you, they're also hearing it from the lender directly. That is, wow. Wow. I'm telling you, I got to watch this one again of all the information. So what are you doing? Are you guys, and this is not on here, but I'm sure it's popping up. All right. So we've sat down, we've got them prepared for the war. We're going to talk about how we keep them engaged in a minute, but now they're ready to make an offer. Okay. So they're ready. They know they're in a multiple offer situation. Are you calling so we know what it's like. You guys are on the challenge on the list side, as you're getting the phone calls, all that. Are you doing that on the buy side? Are you calling the listing agents and saying, Terri, are you calling and saying, hey, I got this buyer. What do I need to do? What are you doing to get your buyer in?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You should always call just to make sure that your offer was acknowledged and received, and you get that email back. But also introduce yourself. Let them know that you're available as well as the buyer's agent, because when we're listing agents, we don't want to work with buyer's agents that are not that don't pick up their phone or respond back. So let them know, your hours, that you're approachable and available if they have any questions, and make that phone. Yeah, absolutely. Make that phone call ahead of time.
Are you calling prior to making the offer to find out, hey, what do I got to do to win?
Yeah, yes and no. So it depends on, obviously it depends on the situation. A lot of times I will let them know that I just showed the property, we're submitting an offer. Is there anything in particular? If they don't have anything on the MLS of what their preferences are, what they want, I will call ahead of time just to see if there's anything we can do to tighten it up, anything that they're looking for, because in negotiations, there's always something that the seller wants other than money, and the buyer as well. So if there's a vacating date that they want, if they need a lease back, all of those things can be discussed before putting the offer in. And then once the offer is in, hey, I've sent this offer to you. Let me know you have it. If you have any questions, if you need anything, I'm available. Let us know, kind of thing. And also checking the timeline of when they're truly going to cut off offers, because you don't want to be that agent that's sent in the offer 5 minutes too late. So,
Got it. Okay.
yeah.
Dorrie, how about you? What are you doing on behalf of your buyer to get in?
I will call the listing agent. I try and keep it short. I think this is where networking with other agents really comes into play. I've always felt like other agents are really my long-term clients. They're the ones I'm going to be working with well after I've sold a house, or a buyer's moved in, or a seller's moved away. And I think when you're gracious and you're kind to other agents, it comes back to you. If you have 15 offers and there's 5 agents who never return their phone calls and are not very pleasant to work with, it can affect it. It makes a difference. And so, yes, I do call. I try and keep it short, ask them if there is anything. If they don't have anything in the MLS, most of us are putting in a preference sheet in the MLS of what the seller would like, which really helps. And maybe I have a question, maybe they have something on that that I can ask them about. But I do think it's important, and also making sure any lender that my buyer is working with, I really want them to call the listing agent and tell them how strong they are. And I'll tell them that they will be reaching out to them.
I
I
love all of that. That's phenomenal. Chenoa, what about you? What are you doing to get your buyers in?
I'm pretty ruthless. I make the phone call. And really it just like connecting with the listing agent. Most times, I know their name at least, or at least have met them or what have you. Similar to what Dorrie said, I absolutely agree with that. There's a big network. But I really try to commiserate with them, like, get into their head of like, oh my gosh, so many offers. Like, what are you doing? Do you need some coffee? Like, just like, then we start talking and they tell me a lot of things that they wouldn't normally tell me, because they feel like I'm just like one of them, right? And I am, but yeah. And the other thing I do is that I've been known to take a picture of my clients and their kids and text it to the listing agent, like, hey, we just submitted the offer. Especially when we do it like pretty on the upfront, and when the listing goes live. And the reason for that is, as a listing agent, you have your seller always like, hey, how's it going? What's going on? What's going on? And so you want to tell them something. You're like, oh yeah, this really great, family, submitted a picture, so cute, whatever. And I've had it where like the sellers were like, hey, what about that one family you told me about? I mean, so it's all about being top of mind and dropping little nuggets. It's this idea of like not trying to be normal and try to do things differently, because people's brains are the same. They love creativity. They love things that are not normal, and they'll pick that up and they'll stick with them, right? So I try to do real sort of different things. And I've done videos. I've sent a video link along with the offer to the listing agent. So yeah, I feel like nothing's off the table when it comes to marketing, but I think for the most part, it's really about being top of mind with that listing agent. At the end of the day, cash may win, and that's fine. But I feel like if I've done my very, very best job, there's nothing else I can do. And I'm happy with that. And the seller and the buyers are happy as well, because you just tell them, you just say, hey, we did our best. Something else, was more important to the seller. But I like winning though. So
yeah, and that's an important thing. I know I can almost guarantee you there's a question about writing a letter along with the offer. I will tell you, knowing the buyer's situation is important. I remember being a listing agent on a $600,000 property. We had a cash deal for $600,000. We had a financing deal for $600,000, and the sellers actually chose the house for the buyers that were financing, because they were a family relocating from New York, and that was their family home. They raised their kids there, and they wanted the new family to raise their kids there, almost like passing the baton. They didn't want the investor to buy it and fix it and flip it. They didn't want it to. It's crazy how sellers think sometimes. So it never hurts. Okay, last question, and I can't imagine how many more we got to go, and we have to wrap up soon. All right, you've made 5, 6, 7, 8 offers on behalf of your buyers, and they're beat up. How are you mentally? 30 seconds or less. How are you, Dorrie? We'll go with you first. How are you keeping your buyers engaged throughout this process?
I think it all depends on your attitude towards them. You've got to be the cheerleader. You've got to be positive. You've got to communicate with them. You can't just drop off the end of the earth just because you've lost 5 and say, oh, well, we're not gonna get one. You need to be sending them constant updates, saying, let's look at our offers. What did we do? What could we do better? I will call the listing agent, and I've done this many times. Okay, what could we have done better to get this offer? Some are very great about sending back really meaningful feedback, which I can share with the buyer and say, we should have done this. Sometimes they just take a while to understand what they need to do. So they need to lose a few, but they do get depressed. They do get disappointed. And it's up to us to keep in constant communication. Well, here, this house just sold and this is how much more. So see, we didn't offer enough, or whatever the difference was, but keep them informed, keep them engaged, keep them saying, hey, look, there's going to be another one, or maybe we look outside that area a little bit. Maybe it's too tough in that area. Maybe they can't quite compete. So let's broaden our range. Let's kind of look at some other areas that we could still be comfortable. There has to be a compromise in this market. You don't always get what you want. And I think it's a really good lesson for them to learn, because you're compromising too. You would have liked to win it for them, but you didn't. So you're all compromising, but stay in communication.
Terri, real quick, because we have to get to questions, a lot of questions.
Of course.
I'm seeing, I think it looks like 44 questions. We've been on for an hour and we've been at 162 participants the entire time. It has not dropped. So kudos to you guys, because that's all you and the content you're providing. Terri, what are you doing 30 seconds or less, because again, we have a lot of questions. What are you doing to keep your buyers pumped?
Okay, everything, to make it quick, everything that Dorrie is doing, I'll ditto that and add just pure sheer positivity. You are their cheerleader. You don't get paid till they get a house as well. Just excitement, keeping them going, keeping them engaged, and just getting your energy out there. That's going to help them stay positive as well.
Okay, Chenoa, real quick.
Backup contracts. Absolutely backup contracts. Yeah.
Yes.
As soon as we hear we don't win it, I sort of set them up like, here's what we do if we don't get it for whatever reason. I get more people into homes and backup contracts than you would be really surprised. But that's just keeping the attitude up, and also looking at homes that I know that they would like the home and it's good bones, but looking at renovation loans or bringing in my own contractors, give them an idea what it would cost to actually renovate it themselves. So I really don't have anything hold me back on getting them into something.
I love, I've heard that. That's the second time I've heard that in probably the last week, the backup offer. I heard you guys, I think Dorrie, you said, or maybe it was Terri, we're going to have a backup or no, Chenoa, it was you. I want to have number 1 backup, 2 backup, 3 backup. I've been hearing a lot lately that backup offers are the one that ultimately win the property, not the initial offer. Okay. You guys ready? This is going to be the lightning round. I'm going to read this as we go. Boom, 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 boom. Cool?
Cool.
All right. So are you seeing a lot of offers with sight unseen buyers? Yes or no? Terri?
Yes.
Dorrie?
Yes.
Chenoa?
Yes, and I don't do them. I don't recommend.
What do you mean you don't do them?
As a listing agent, I don't recommend that my seller take an offer of a sight unseen. I don't recommend it. They can do what they want, obviously, but there's a lot. You're setting yourself up for just not success, for people coming in and seeing the house and being disappointed and then getting back out and then going to the backup contracts. It's just more of a hassle, I think. If they really were, they'd be here. So
sight unseen buyers carry, in your opinion, less weight than a buyer who's present that actually saw the property, right? Okay, got that. Next one, is there a day of the week that is better to go live?
Thursday.
Dorrie?
I like to put them on Thursday.
Chenoa?
Wednesday or Thursday.
All right, Dorrie, when you go in and change the price in the MLS, are you getting a new listing agreement with the new price?
Amendment.
Okay. What about liability on agent 1, 2 years from now? Recommended taxes will be higher and they start off with negative equity. I see problems. I guess it's a liability question. Well, that's going to be a very heavy one. We don't have. Sorry, I'm going through the questions. Chenoa, can you share your Excel spreadsheet?
I absolutely will. And yes, play with it a lot. And I'm happy to do that. Okay.
Any advice for buyers agents to help have offer accept? Well, we went through that. Excellent point. Sorry, I'm reading through this as we go because I was paying attention and I couldn't look at it while we were going. Real quick. All right. He knows how to get me. For new agents like me, what is your best advice or strategy on obtaining listings buyer agreements? That's a whole separate, John, I think that's going to be a whole separate class. I don't think we can cover that right now. The apps that we were speaking with, again, Independence Title, Agent One. How between going live and the shut off of live offers, what's your time frame? If you're going live on Thursday, that's the preference. What's your shut off?
Sunday 5.
Okay. All right. My buyer who is very qualified, that's just a comment. And even, sorry guys, I'm going through this as I said. We used to have a multiple offer form in dot loop that the listing agent compared 3 offers info. No, I don't know. Okay. When can a financed offer beat out a cash offer? Terry, quick tips for a finance offer to beat a cash offer.
Price, obviously, but then tightening up all of the little things, all the little contingencies, get rid of them, educate your buyer on it, and the strong financing too, right? So if you have a cash buyer, like you had said at the very beginning, that if they put, $5,000 on down for earnest money, that's not a lot compared to how much cash they have if they lose. So increasing earnest money, just all the little, there's 23 things to negotiate in a Texas real estate contract. People don't realize that. And those are things that we can go through to negotiate and make our offers stronger.
Okay. Now, so people are asking the sending pictures, right? Now, I know if you send pictures, is that a violation of fair housing? There's a couple questions regarding fair housing and pictures.
Alex, can I answer that one? Can I go on that one?
Yeah.
Okay. Cause I think sending them, you're okay. Because I'm the same way. I was in a class, a negotiation class, and we talked about that as well. The problem then the liability comes when you're the seller, and you're presenting that to the seller. People are emotional and they can make judgments off of pictures. And so you can open up a can of worms into fair housing if they like, somebody else over a picture or whatever it may be. It can also work out in your in your favor, which is why as a buyer's agent, we can do that. We can pull out all the stops, but that could also, in my opinion, that could also kind of backfire. And we never want our sellers to make a decision. I think personally, letters are great because you're creating the, like, hey, I'm moving from New York. I've got to buy, I've got this, this is my situation. And I'm a person and not an investor. I think that's a great tool to use. Me personally, I'm a little hesitant on the photos as well, because you don't want to open up to familiar status, race, religion, any of the fair housing laws.
Got it. Quick question, multiple offers, incomplete info. Not all realtors are great as you. Sometimes we get, we're 20 offers, but of the 20, 3 or 4 are missing information. Are you going back to those 3 and 4 and telling them, or are you just like, sorry, dude, you suck as an agent. You should have dotted your I's and crossed your T's, right? Dorrie, what do you do?
They need to fix it. They need to be proficient in doing contracts. If you've got 20 or 30 that you're looking at and somebody hasn't filled it out correctly, it really is not your job to go back, and tell them, hey, you forgot this or you forgot that. Now it depends on, what it is. Was it just that they didn't get it attached and they've had it, it's in the contract? But I think when it's this fast paced as a buyer's agent, you've got to take responsibility.
Got it. Okay. All right, sweet. So I think I'm done on this side. Charles, I made you a co-host if you want to jump on. There you are. Jeff Hoover from Dallas. I'm going now. There's another area of Q&A. So there's 2, like you have comments and then you have Q&A. So upon touring 2 homes to my client, there were at least 3 to 4 agents with clients at the property both times. That's more of a comment. What do you do when buyers delay signing the buyer representation agreement? Well, so let me rephrase that question. Do you ever work with a buyer that hasn't signed a buyer rep agreement with you?
I'm not going to submit an offer for someone without a buyer's representation agreement, because you need to be representing your buyer. Otherwise, you're technically working for the selling firm. Like, you have to draw those lines out ahead of time. And so for me, I may not make them sign that on the first showing. I'm not that hard about it, but as far as putting an offer, absolutely, that has to be signed first before I submit your offer.
Okay, got it. Dorrie?
If you're explaining to your buyer in your initial consultation, this is how you work. You are also addressing the professional fee that you're getting because they may think they have to pay for it. You're again saying, we're going to seek it through the listing agreement or the builder, whatever we end up at. But if you're not good enough to explain the process and how we work, then how good are you going to be at negotiating for your buyer?
Ooh. Mic drop. Chenoa, real quick, and then we're going to go to one last question. Chenoa, how about you? Are your buyers, are you papering up in the beginning?
Yeah, so typically my first step is I sit down with them over coffee and go do a buyer presentation to talk about the market and whatnot. And at the end of it, like they're ready to sign. So it's because, you know, you get to the point where you're like, this is what I do. You give them so much value, they can't not go with you. So that's always the case. If it's like a last minute deal where they want to see a house, I may go see it with them, but for the most part, I'm still sitting them down and talking to them for a good 30 minutes before we proceed.
Got it. And last but not least, on your deals that are cash, are you seeing the buyer? There was a lot of fair housing questions about the picture. So Terri, thank you for answering that. On the deals that are cash, do you see that? Are they sticking to cash, or are they switching to financing at some point during the transaction?
Go ahead, Dorrie.
No, I think they're sticking with the cash. I don't see them. I saw that years ago, but I don't know. Cash is
Chenoa?
Same as Dorrie, but then there's been several where they switched it midstream, which is why I require cash to close essentially in 2 weeks and almost triple the earnest money. And I mean, I could ask a lot more of a cash offer right now. I may not be able to in a couple of months. So right now I'm able to ask a lot more of them to make sure that my sale is protected.
Got it. How about you, Terri?
I haven't seen anybody switching from cash to financing at all. So, and if they did, no.
Yep, I got it. There you go, guys, girls, I should say. And Charles, I don't know if you want to wrap up. You absolutely crushed today's session. We up until 11:02, we had 162 on the entire time. We still have 142 on. On behalf of myself and of Coldwell Banker Texas, thank you. You were phenomenal. It was action-packed. So many great pieces of information. We appreciate your time. We appreciate you being a part of Coldwell Banker in Texas. Charles, I'm sure if you want to wrap it up, but thank you, girls.
Just real quick, thanks, Alex, Terri, Dorrie, Chenoa, thank you. This was truly part of our CB Success Series. This is a hot topic today. As you know, we are in a very contest-oriented listing shortage, inventory, and other aspects. So the information you gave and shared today is super valuable for everybody on the call. I know this topic could go on for about 2 hours because there's a lot more conversation happening in the chats. We'd love to bring it back as well. I want to encourage everybody. These CB Success Series were specifically designed so we can share best practices, be a team, be a Coldwell Banker family. So if there are any specific topics that people want, everybody that's on this webinar right now, any future topics you'd like us to address or bring best practices for, please submit them in the chat. We're all obviously here to help each other, but more importantly, Terri, Dorrie, and Chenoa, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Your experience obviously speaks volumes, and this has been a great session. So have a great rest of your day. From the bottom of my heart, we appreciate you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, girls.
Thank you.
Crushed it. Superstars. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.